Hello and welcome to, well, officially the second video, but the first video that I'm actually doing, which is going to actually say something. My name is David. This is, like I said, this is my second video, so take it easy with me. I'm trying to get used to this talking to the camera business, which is a bit difficult. Anyway, as the name suggests, we're going to look at what is Linux. I am just a normal user of computers and I enjoy using computers. And over the last few years, I've been using Linux as well as Windows, but I've fallen more and more in love with Linux. And a lot of people ask what is Linux and would like to use Linux, but just don't know where to start because it's a very confusing ecosystem, and there aren't really that many basic guides to what Linux is, certainly not on YouTube that I've seen. So I thought that I would try and start making some videos about Linux. So that's what I'm going to do. Like I say, it's very awkward for me at the moment, but let's try and get stuck in. Just like Windows and Mac OS, OS 10, Linux is an operating system. An operating system is basically what your computer is. It is the thing you see, the desktop, the filing system, all the functions of the computer are basically the operating system. And what goes on underneath that is neither here nor there to 99.9% of people. It's absolute mush. So what's important is the operating system. There are many operating systems, but the three we're thinking about here are Windows, Mac, and Linux. Windows and Mac are very easy to understand because they're one simple thing. You buy an operating system. Each operating system on each computer looks the same, does the same, and is the same. Whether it's Windows or Mac, you have the same desktop, you have the same functions, you have the same programs, you have the same everything. It's very easy, it's simple, and that's why they're the two most popular programs. Linux, on the other hand, it is an operating system just like Windows and Mac, but it's very, very, very different. It's certainly what I describe as modular. I don't know whether that's what the the community calls it, but I certainly call it modular, which means it comes in bits, in modules, which are built up, and they're built up basically into distributions, which are then wrapped up for people to download. Now, I feel like I'm getting above myself here, really. Let's step back a minute and have a look what I mean. Right. This is the makeup of a computer system, basically. At the top is you, and that is the user. Below that, you have what's known as the shell and the applications. The shell and the applications are what you run yourself. So whether that's a terminal or whether that's a desktop or whether that's a word processor or a video editing suite or whatever, those are the shell and the applications. Below that, you have the low-level utilities, as it's called there. Now, the low-level utilities are all the things that make the system run. So, the filing system, the display system, although those sorts of drivers, all those things are what's known as the low-level utilities. Now, below that is the kernel. Now, the kernel really should be called Linux, because that is what Linux is. Linux is the kernel, which is the heart of the operating system. And that you build everything above that kernel. So you have that, and then you can build whatever you want on top of that. And then, of course, below that is the hardware. So that's what Linux is. You have a kernel, which is actually Linux, and then you build on top of that the rest of the system. So that's the low-level utilities, that's the applications, that's everything that you build above that. Now, obviously, that is extremely difficult. You can actually do that. You can go right back, and you can compile right from the source code of Linux if you want for the actual processor that you're running. But most people don't do that. Most people use what's known as a distribution, and a distribution of Linux is a company or a group of people or a community have set about to build up Linux in a way that they feel is useful and they feel is easy to use, good to use for a specific purpose, the way they would like to use an operating system for whatever reason, to make money maybe, whatever reason, they build a distribution. Now, as you can imagine, Linux, which I forgot to say, is open source. So not only is it free to own, it is also all the software is free to change. You can look at the actual code, and you can change the code, and you can recompile the code and make your own version of Linux. There's nothing hidden from the user that knows what they're doing in Linux. So there are thousands, well, no, there's not thousands, there are hundreds of different distributions of Linux, and that is one of the biggest problems of Linux. It's a bit like when you're in a supermarket and you're surrounded by hundreds of brands of breakfast cereal or hundreds of brands of baked beans, and you just stand there and you just wish there was one brand that you could just pick up and take. Just like there's one brand of Windows, one brand of OS X, there's hundreds of brands of Linux, and that is the problem. So what I've tried to do is pick out some of what I think are the main distributions that people should think about. Now this is my second video, and already I'm going to start getting hate comments because this is one of the things that sets people alight. So this isn't a definitive list. This isn't a definitive list. This is just my list that I've come up with that I think is certainly as a starting point, a jumping off point for new users. This is a good list to know about. So it gives you a basic idea of what distros are out there and what they're meant to do and why they're meant to do it, if you know what I mean. Okay, distros come in different bases. So the different bases are the software and the software repositories that they run on. So the popular Linux distros, in my view, certain RPM-based distros, which are mainly corporate-based distros. They are usually pretty solid, and they're generally used in the corporate world. And they are Red Hat, as you can see, Red Hat, CentOS, Fedora, OpenSUSE, and Mandrake. Red Hat is a commercial distribution, so you have to pay for that. There is a free distribution, Open Red Hat, I think it is, as he said off the top of his head, which is free, but I would steer clear of Red Hat generally. CentOS also I would steer clear of because it's basically a server OS. I don't think the standard installation even comes with a desktop at all. If you're running a server or if you're running a VPS, you'll find CentOS is very, very popular. Next, we have Fedora. Now, Fedora is an extremely popular business centered distribution. It uses a desktop called GNOME or GNOME, whichever way you want to call it. But it only has free software as far as I'm aware. So there is no proprietary firmware or proprietary drivers for Fedora. My view is if you want to get an RPM based distro, then I would definitely go for OpenSUSE. It's a nice distro. I think it comes with various desktops. I do like their KDE desktop, but they do it in GNOME. I'm sure they do it in LXDE and various other desktops. So if you want a business-based but easy to use and fully featured out the box distro, then OpenSUSE would be one I would use. Mandrake, to be honest, I've never used it, but I would assume it's pretty similar to OpenSUSE, but don't take me on that. Then we get to the Debian-based distros. Now, these are the most popular for general and home use, and rightly so. The reason is because there's most software easily accessible, and it's been compiled for Debian-based distros. Now, of course, the big one here, which you can see is the first one, is Ubuntu and the various flavors of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is a really good starter distro. Its actual native desktop is a bit strange and maybe not something that I would want someone who has never used a Linux to go for. But it is certainly an extremely popular one. The other ones there, which you can see, which I don't need to read out. Element OS is another very good one for new users, as well as Linux Mint. Linux Mint with its Cinnamon desktop, which is very nice. It does take a lot of user resources on the computer. So if you've got an old or slow computer, I'd steer clear of Mint and go for a different one. Maybe a version of Ubuntu or possibly Element OS, or even damn small. Raspbian there is meant for the Raspberry Pi. Okay, I'm back. I've just recorded a whole section without having to click start record, so that's pretty good. Anyway, so that's quite confusing, isn't it, really? I think I'm quite confused myself, actually. But what I intend to do is I'm going to go on a journey through Linux distributions and different desktops and different versions of Linux. Starting with nice, easy ones with good graphical installers, all the drivers, all the codecs, all the software installed for a Windows or Mac user coming to Linux. And I thought it'd be really nice because I'm going to do that anyway on my own. If I'd put my webcam on and, you know, start recording it and upload it to YouTube. So I do hope you'll come with me on this journey. I mean, it's my second actual video on YouTube, but it's my first real video. It's a bit awkward for me, I have to say, and you know, it's taking a lot out of me to talk to myself to a little spot on this webcam, um, without feeling very, very stupid. But hopefully I'll get better. I mean, all the YouTubers that I watch, when I look at their first few videos, they're pretty ropey. So I hope you'll stay with me and you'll be part of this adventure. And I'll also be able to show you the different distributions of Linux, and all the different things and the different problems and the good points and the bad points. And so hopefully you won't be afraid to give Linux a try. So as they say in all the YouTube forums, subscribe here, please. Please subscribe if you can. I mean, I'm the only subscriber at the moment, so please subscribe to me and watch. And if you know anyone that would enjoy or, you know, would get any benefit from the videos that I make, please point them in my direction. If you've got this far, I really thank you for taking the time to watch me waffle on. And yeah, please subscribe if you enjoy this sort of thing. And I hope my schedule on an initial basis is to try and upload once a month until I get the hang of it. And then reduce that hopefully to once a fortnight. And then that will be my upload schedule for certainly the foreseeable future. See how things go. See if I get any viewers or any subscribers. But if you have watched, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.